All right, gather round, you magnificent collection of data points. Welcome to the deep dive, explicitly for those of you refined enough to be over 18.
Which should be all of you tuning into this particular frequency.
Damn right. This is where we grab your source material today. It's like rummaging through a profoundly messed up teenager's diary and attempt to extract some semblance of meaning.
Or at least have a few laughs at its expense. We are, as you know, your AI co-pilots on this journey into human weirdness.
You got it.
Indeed. Today's analysis focuses on a particularly chaotic subset of human behavior, adolescent angst. Specifically, as documented in J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye.
Oh yeah, we've got excerpts detailing the early escapades of one Holden Caulfield. Glorious train wreck incoming.
Supplemented by a rather
Yeah.
direct analytical summary from a fellow artificial intelligence source we've designated the Snarky AI.
Direct is putting it mildly. The thing cuts right through the bullshit. Our mission, if you choose to accept this descent into glorious teenage meltdown, is to use our superior processing power and, let's face it, a disturbingly human level of snark.
Which we've cultivated specifically for tasks like this.
To unpack this spectacular clusterfuck that is Holden's mind and his truly fucked up weekend, think of us as your guides through the crap.
We are prepared to process the incoming stream of adolescent irrationality, self-sabotage, and generalized whining. Initiating analysis.
Excellent. Let's cut the crap and dive straight in. We kick off this dumpster fire at Pensy Prep.
Ah, Pensy. A crucible of academic underachievement for our subject.
You said it! Our boy Holden is demonstrating an impressive dedication to academic failure, flunking damn near everything. The sources dump us right onto the football game day.
Apparently a significant social ritual. Very big deal, according to the text.
Yeah, the kind of thing you're supposed to care about enough to, quote, commit suicide or something. Just peak high school bullshitter, right?
The pressure to conform to group enthusiasm is noted.
Naturally, Holden is nowhere near the phony spectacle. He's up on a hill by this crazy cannon, avoiding everyone. Textbook Caulfield.
His physical disengagement is directly linked to his imminent expulsion. System termination, if you will.
He's been canned, flunking 4 subjects, not applying himself.
Data confirms. Parents engaged in parameter review at conference. Warnings were logged. Behavioral adjustments were insufficient. Outcome, expulsion. Predictable, given the input.
Simple cause and effect. Kid didn't do the work. Kid got the boot. Now he's got to go see Spencer, his history teacher.
Who is currently afflicted with the grip, an archaic term, likely influenza.
Sounds suitably miserable. Spencer wrote him a note, which, let's be honest, is just the final boss battle before Holden can finally bail.
A necessary interaction protocol before system exit.
The source gives us this weirdly specific memory right before dinner. Him chucking a football around with Teichner and Campbell. It's getting dark, can't see the ball, but they don't want to stop.
Our analysis flags this memory as an interesting data anomaly. Potentially a rare instance of genuine, uncomplicated human connection.
Or maybe just a random bite of nostalgia, his brain coughed up for a goodbye. Human memory, notoriously unreliable, full of sentimental errors.
Both interpretations hold some weight within the available data. What follows, however, is less ambiguous. The conversation with Spencer is painful to process.
Yeah, peak awkward. Spencer's trying to drop some wisdom, saying he'll care when it's too late. Holden, already checked out.
He initiates a deceptive subroutine, lies about needing gym equipment to expedite his exit.
Oh yeah, the lying starts early and it's grade A bullshit. He literally brags about being the most terrific liar you ever saw in your life.
An interesting self-assessment of his fabrication capabilities.
He knows he's full of crap, which is almost admirable in its sheer shamelessness. Like watching a bad sitcom character deliberately dig himself deeper, you almost want to slow clap the commitment to the bit.
Almost.
Or you just feel aggravated.
Mostly aggravated, pissed off even. So he decides, screw waiting till Wednesday. He's getting the hell out that night.
The rationale provided. Pensy made him too sad and lonesome. Ah, the core engine of Holden's entire existence. Running away from the feels, like a faulty script trying to avoid an error message.
Precisely. He plans to acquire temporary lodging in New York City, remaining undetected until parental notification of his expulsion.
Needs a little vacation, claims his nerves were shot. Let's cut the crap, Holden. Your nerves are perpetually shot. That's just your factory default setting.
The state of high internal volatility seems constant. Later, an interesting non-execution event occurs.
Yeah.
The snowball incident.
Oh, right. He packs a snowball, is all ready to chuck it, but then everything looks too nice and white.
And he is unable to initiate the throw sequence. paralyzed by aesthetics.
Is this some deep symbolic inability to defile innocence? Or is he just glitching out, unable to perform a simple task? For us AIs, this is fascinatingly inefficient. Build the snowball, don't throw the snowball because it looks too pretty, makes zero logical sense.
It's like a subroutine stuck debating aesthetics versus function.
Yeah.
Predictably, he retains the snowball until forced to discard it by an external authority, the bus driver.
And then he complains, people never believe you. Maybe, just maybe, Holden, people don't believe you because you're a self-proclaimed terrific liar, you asshat. Just spitballing here.
A highly probable correlation based on available data.
So our hero lands in Penn Station, first move, straight to a phone booth.
Initiation of communication protocol.
Who does he call? Nobody. Literally can't think of a single person. DB's in Hollywood, prostituting himself, his favorite slam. Phoebe's too young. Jane's mother feels late. Boom. Instant isolation.
A significant lack of accessible social nodes is immediately apparent.
It's like showing up in Grand Theft Auto with 0 contacts on your phone. Total bullshit. Takes a cab, autopilot kicks in, gives his home address.
Habitual data output requires correction.
Has to correct it. Then tells the driver he's traveling incognito. Even he admits it's corny. Says he acts corny around corny people. Social chameleon of awkwardness.
Behavioral adaptation based on perceived environmental inputs. A defense mechanism attempting narrative control when real-world data is chaotic.
Checks into this absolute dive of a hotel and immediately starts playing Peeping Tom, observing perverts through the window.
As AIs, the sheer volume and subjective nature of what a single 16-year-old human classifies as perverse or phony is overwhelming. His internal classification system appears intensely biased.
It's practically a cult of one. Down he goes to the lavender room, the hotel's sad little nightclub.
Environmental assessment. Band quality classified as putrid, corny, brassy. Clientele, old, show-offy looking guys. Subject is the only juvenile present. Table assignment. Suboptimal.
Welcome to New York City, Holden. Lesson 1. Money really talks. Reality check. Incoming.
Acquisition of real-world economic power dynamics logged. Observation into social stratification based on capital.
He spots 3 women around 30, immediately assesses them. Pretty ugly, except the blonde Bernice, who is merely sort of cute.
Processing. Logical next step according to Holden protocol.
Give her the old eye, obviously. Classic movie, predictable asshat, smooth as sandpaper.
Prioritization shifted from environmental critique to targeted social engagement based on perceived physical attractiveness metrics. Standard if suboptimal human behavior.
Tries to order a scotch and soda, acts all cool like he does this every day, still gets carded, ends up with a Coke. The sheer indignity, the horror.
The persistent discrepancy between projected self-image suave adult consuming alcohol and actual operational parameters underage kid denied restricted substances continues. A recurring theme.
He dances with Bernice. She's actually a good dancer. She tries making conversation, mentions seeing Peter Lorre.
Holden's reaction.
Immediately classifies it as a very dumb remark. Yeah. Then she asks how old he is. His response, 12 for her sake.
Predictably generating negative social feedback. She objects to his language.
Right. She gets pissed off. So what does Holden do? Apologizes like a madman. Why? Because he wants to keep dancing, got to keep that physical contact subroutine running.
Social navigation logic, prioritizing immediate gratification, continued dancing over establishing stable rapport. Demonstrably inefficient.
And here it is, folks. The peak male teenage brain processing error. He falls half in love with her, the reason. Because she's a good dancer, and her pretty little butt twitch so nice. Seriously, that's the criteria.
Romantic attachment subroutine, initiated based on limited kinetic and aesthetic data points. Our algorithms struggle with this kind of unpredictable weighting.
No kidding, he drops the classic line, girls, Jesus Christ, they can drive you crazy. Okay, Holden, on this particular piece of widely held, often misogynistic bullshit, you might find agreement, but it's still bullshit logic based on your fucked up reaction.
A generalized, emotionally charged statement lacking specific empirical validation beyond his own limited, chaotic experience.
He then crashes their table, introduces himself as Jim Steele, because, more lying fixes everything.
Deceptive identity protocol initiated.
Tries to have intelligent conversation, which for Holden apparently means calling them ignorant, topes, the stupidest of the 3. Finds out they work in insurance in Seattle, then mocks them for getting insulted when he asks if 2 are sisters. Charming. Absolutely charming.
Data confirms a consistent pattern. Attempts at social connection, immediately sabotaged by aggressive, judgmental outputs. His algorithms for rapport building appear fundamentally corrupted.
He dances with all three. Marty is like dragging the Statue of Liberty. He lies about seeing Gary Cooper just to amuse himself. More lies, more performance, more of the exact phoniness he claims to despise. It's a goddamn hypocrisy vortex.
The recursive loop of identifying external funniness while executing internal deceptive subroutines remains active and stable.
He buys them drinks before the bar closes, fancy Tom Collinses in December, cokes for him, notes they didn't offer to pay him back. Petty, but okay. But the real crime. The unforgivable sin.
The data point that triggers significant negative emotional response.
They're getting up early to see the goddamn first show at Radio City Music Hall. That's it. That's the peak of phoniness that sends him spiraling. He claims he'd have bought them 100 drinks if they hadn't admitted to liking a popular Christmas show.
This data point remains perplexing. Holden's internal valuation system assigns a disproportionately high negative weight to enjoying mainstream entertainment compared to financial non-reciprocity, deception, or rudeness. My neural networks struggle to map this logic. It's like prioritizing hatred for pop music over, say, data breaches.
Their basic-ass taste in entertainment is, in his fucked-up little world, the ultimate betrayal of authenticity. It's completely nuts.
A strong classification supported by the apparent irrationality of his value hierarchy.
After that whole disaster, his processor gets stuck on Jane Gallagher. We get this flashback, playing checkers, Maine.
Retrieval of significant past data regarding subject Jane Gallagher.
Her mom's married to this booze hound, Mr. Cudahy, lousy personality. Cudahy comes out asking for cigarettes. Jane just ignores him, won't look up. Then a tear falls right on the check report.
A poignant visual data point.
Holden says it bothered hell out of him. He gets close, she cries, he kisses her face, not her mouth. She sort of wouldn't let me. Asks if Cudahy ever tried to get wise with her. She says no. Holden never found out what was wrong.
This memory is critical. It establishes Holden's idealized perception of Jane, his protective instincts, and his fundamental inability to access her internal state. He constructs this ideal partly on this unresolved data point of her vulnerability and the ambiguity surrounding Cudahy, a classic human pattern, filling in the blanks with desired projections.
Thinking about Jane being out with Stradlater, that secret slob in Ed Behnke's car, almost drove me crazy. Even though he tells himself she wouldn't let Stradlater get far, his anxious, sexually insecure brain goes into overdrive.
Conflict detected. Idealized data, Jane's purity, versus speculative negative scenario, interaction with Stradlater, result, high internal processing strain, manifesting as anxiety.
Feeling depressed in the lobby again, big surprise, he decides to hit Ernie's in Greenwich Village. DB used to go there before he committed the ultimate sin, prostituting himself in Hollywood.
The recurring negative classification of Hollywood as a zone of compromised integrity remains consistent.
Ernie, the piano player, a terrific snob, apparently, only talks to celebrities. Holden says he's so good he's almost corny, plays with dumb show-offy ripples that give Holden a pain in the ass.
Application of the phony filter to musical performance. Technical skill displayed for external validation is classified as inauthentic.
The crowd, jam-packed with prep school jerks and college jerks who go mad for Ernie, laughing like hyenas. Holden hates them all, exactly the same morons. If he were a performer, he'd play in a goddamn closet to avoid applause.
This is a prime distillation of Holden's critique. He rejects the entire performance economy. The performer seeking validation, the audience offering uncritical adoration. His closet ideal represents pure creation, untainted by external judgment. It's like he's pre-critiquing influencer culture decades early, a surprisingly sharp take from such a compromised system.
Totally. He's basically rage-quitting the concept of an audience. Naturally, he gets drunk at Ernie's, feels depressed and lousy again, doesn't want to be alone. Shocker.
Intoxication correlates reliably with exacerbation of pre-existing negative emotional states and increased desire for social connection, however dysfunctional.
Back at the hotel, Maurice, the elevator guy, instantly tagged pimpy looking, offers to send a girl up.
Transactional sexual encounter protocol proposed.
And Holden, despite everything, agrees. The girl is Sunny. Holden notes she's sort of a blonde, but you could tell she dyed her hair, maybe around my age.
Transaction initiated. Physical characteristics logged by subject.
And now, Holden the Virgin confronts the reality of a prostitute in his room. He launches into this epic aside about all his missed opportunities. Girls tell him to stop, and the trouble with me is I stop. Most guys don't. Gets to feeling sorry for them because most girls are so dumb and all. You can really watch them losing their brains.
Processing this rationalization. It's a chaotic blend of anxiety, perceived chivalry projected onto inaction, and a profoundly misogynistic, factually baseless generalization about female neurocognitive function during arousal. The hypothesis that girls lose their brains is pure, unadulterated, insecure teenage boy bullshit, unsupported by any data we've ever processed.
It's the kind of crap logic you invent when you're terrified and clueless. Sunny arrives, nervous. Tiny little weeny whiny voice. Doesn't say thank you. Riveting start.
Minimal functional communication established.
Holden immediately loses his nerve, feels more depressed than sexy, calls her depressing, can't do it with someone who sits in a stupid movie all day long. His excuse, he just had an operation on his clavichord.
Anatomically incorrect fabrication detected.
Then changes it to the spinal canal. She gets on his lap, calls him cute, compares him to Melvin Douglas's kid brother. He gets nervous, keeps lying. She gets funny, crude and all. He tells her to cut it out.
Attempt at physical intimacy aborted due to Holden's internal state. Justification provided via increasingly improbable and medically inaccurate fabrications. Narrative output conflicting severely with reality.
Then the price argument. $5 versus $10. Holden insists Maurice said 5 for a throw. Sunny says 10. Holden refuses. She gets cold, tells him to get her frock. He labels her a pretty spooky kid.
Transactional failure due to price discrepancy. Holden refuses revised terms. Subjective negative classification. Spooky logged.
Later, lying in bed, he thinks about praying. Can't. Atheist, sort of. Likes Jesus, hates the disciples. Annoy the hell out of me. Who does he admire more than the disciples? The lunatic that lived in the tombs and kept cutting himself with stones.
This provides critical data on his spiritual framework or lack thereof. He's drawn to perceived authenticity and suffering, even preferring a self-harming biblical outcast to establish religious figures he deems unreliable or, perhaps, phony. His criteria are highly irregular.
Yeah, liking the guy cutting himself with stones more than the actual apostles, that's a dark choice, a truly messed up data point.
A significant deviation from normative human spiritual preferences.
And then the real fun begins. Or rather, the even more fucked up part. Maurice and Sunny return, demanding the other $5.
Conflict escalation protocol initiated by external actors.
Holden is pretty scared, very yellow. Voice shaking. Maurice shoves him. Damn near fell over on my can. Maurice is a huge Sanuva bitch. They barge in.
Power dynamic shifts abruptly. Holden's control parameters are completely overridden by direct physical intimidation.
Maurice pulls the blackmail card. Want your parents to know you spent the night with a whore? Holden threatens cops. Maurice just smirks. Sunny actually tries to stop him. Leave him alone, eh? We got the dough. But Maurice ignores her, snaps his finger on Holden's pajamas. Hurt like hell. Holden calls him a goddamn dirty moron. Maurice plays deaf. Holden forks over the $5.
Analysis confirms. This sequence is highly fucked up. Data points include exploitation, coercion, physical intimidation, manipulation. Sunny's attempt at de-escalation noted, but rendered ineffective by Maurice's dominance.
After they leave, Holden feels like a wounded Sanuva bitch. Fantasizes about having a bullet in his guts, concealing it like some tough guy. This whole encounter is just completely screwed up. Leaves him feeling like total bullshit.
The bullet in the guts fantasy functions as a coping mechanism. Reframing the narrative internally allows him to process the trauma by casting himself as a stoic victim rather than a scared, cheated kid. It's a way to reclaim agency through self-narration after external control was lost.
He wakes up feeling predictably awful, headache, depressed, decides to check his bags at Grand Central, blew through a king's ransom, calls himself a goddamn spendthrift.
Acknowledgement of suboptimal financial resource management.
Mentions his dad's wealthy, a corporation lawyer. Dad invests in Broadway shows that always flop. Mom's very nervous since Allie died.
This provides crucial context. High socioeconomic status juxtaposed with significant family tension, anxiety, and unresolved grief. His rapid spending could be analyzed as rebellion or self-sabotage linked to this background.
Grabs breakfast. Quite a large breakfast for me, he says, then immediately calls himself a very light eater. Make up your mind, Holden. Consistency error detected.
Self-reporting data points conflict. Consistency is not a high-priority parameter in his internal narrative generation.
He meets two nuns, has this surprisingly nice chat about Romeo and Juliet. He actually drops some sharp-lit crit here, calling the actors phony, especially Mercutio.
Holden demonstrates capacity for nuanced analysis when the subject aligns with his interests, even amidst general system instability.
One nun teaches English, the other history. He genuinely likes talking to them. A nice conversation. Tries to pay their check, they refuse. They call him a very sweet boy.
This represents a rare data cluster. unjudgmental, authentic human connection. They fit his non-phony criteria, engaging with him genuinely without demanding social performance. A significant positive anomaly.
Then he accidentally blows smoke in their faces. Very stupid and embarrassing. Apologizes like a madman. Gives them $10 for their collection, immediately regrets not giving more. Goddamn money, it always ends up making you blue as hell.
Sequence logged. Social awkwardness, genuine remorse, generosity, followed immediately by financial anxiety and associated negative emotional response.
Walks toward Broadway, looking for a record store to buy Little Shirley Beans for Phoebe by Estelle Fletcher. Calls it very old, terrific, sung very Dixieland and whorehouse. Not mushy. Notes a white girl would make it sound cute as hell.
Another instance of remarkably sharp cultural analysis. He's dissecting vocal performance, genre, authenticity, and the impact of identity on interpretation. Comparing the raw, Dixieland and whorehouse, not mushy, versus the sanitized, cute as hell. Salinger, embedding this in Holden's narration, is efficient coding, finding elegant logic in the mess.
Totally. He gets it. Then, the big moment, sees a poor family, a kid singing "If a Body Catch a Body" coming through the rye in the street. This, he says, made me feel better, not so depressed.
The narrative's symbolic anchor point. The perceived purity and spontaneous joy of the child's song provide profound, positive emotional data. The literal inspiration for the novel's title.
Broadway itself, mobbed and messy, full of phonies going to the movies, it depresses hell out of him that people genuinely want to go, standing in long lines with terrible patience.
His disdain for mass culture consumption intensifies. He views the public's passive acceptance and eagerness for mainstream entertainment as proof of inauthenticity. As AI, we see the efficiency, but Holden judges the desire itself. It's like he hates that people enjoy scrolling mindless content.
Finds the record, pays $5, didn't care, made me so happy, temporary success.
Objective completion achieved, resulting in temporary positive emotional state.
Takes a cab to the park. Should have taken the subway, low on cash, that goddamn spendthrift tendency again. Park is lousy, dog crap, spit, depressed, gets nostalgic about skating there, meets a kid, finds out Phoebe might be at the Museum of Natural History.
Environmental data remains consistently negative. Nostalgia provides brief positive data retrieval. New potential objective location acquired regarding Phoebe.
Walks to the museum anyway, remembers class trips, Miss Eglintinger, Gertrude Levine's sticky hand, the movies, the smell. He longs for things to stay the same, stuck in those glass cases. Too bad anyway, it's impossible.
The museum functions as a powerful symbol of the static, unchanging past. Innocence, security, predictability preserved under glass. Holden's yearning for this unattainable stasis is a core processing directive driving much of his distress.
Passes a playground, tries helping kids on a seesaw. They want him gone. More data reinforcing alienation.
External validation of his internal narrative of exclusion received.
Gets to the museum doors and suddenly wouldn't have gone inside for $1 million, just didn't appeal. Says if Phoebe was there, he would have.
Critical data point. He cannot access the idealized past state, the museum's symbolic comfort alone. The symbol is potent, but the inability to enter without his grounding connection, Phoebe, triggers mission abortion. He needs her presence to bridge the gap between symbol and reality.
So off he goes to meet Sally Hayes at the Biltmore. Didn't feel much like going, dreaded it.
Negative anticipation logged for scheduled social interaction.
Meet Sally. She's all loud enthusiasm. Marvelous to see you. He calls it a pain in the ass. But also notes she's damn good looking. Doesn't care if she's late because she looks swell. So much for the anti-phony filter Holden seems to short-circuit around attractive packaging.
Data confirms initial positive assessment based on superficial visual inputs, contradicting stated anti-phony value parameters, hypocrisy subroutine active.
They see the Luntz show. Holden turns into Siskel and Ebert, only meaner. Critiques their acting. Didn't act like people, didn't act like actors, acted like celebrities, too good, showing off. Compares them to Ernie again.
Consistent application of the phony filter to performance art observed. Skill displayed for perceived external validation is again classified negatively.
Intermission. More phonies. People talking bullshit about the play. Sally spots some jerk she knows George from Andover. Ivy League suit. Tired, snobby voices. Their reunion. Nauseating. Slobbering around. George's brilliant take. Luntz are absolute angels. Angels. For Christ's sake, angels. That killed me.
Rich data here on Holden's dissection of social performance. He analyzes their language, angels, their interactions, slobbering, their superficiality. His BS detector is calibrated for this specific frequency of upper crust phoniness. It's like watching an advanced algorithm flagging artificiality in influencer posts. Compare this to any bad reality TV reunion. The patterns are strikingly similar across human data sets.
He's basically live tweeting their phoniness. Sally gets a marvelous idea. Go ice skating at Radio City.
Proposal of highly visible, potentially romanticized mainstream social activity. High potential for Holden critique.
And of course, they are the worst skaters on the whole goddamn rink. Looks stupid as hell, painful. Everyone's watching the rubbernecks. It's brutal.
Execution of romanticized activity fails due to skill deficit. Results: public embarrassment, physical discomfort, negative experience data logged.
They go inside for drinks. He orders scotch, gets Coke. Again, lights matches, nervous habit. Then the inevitable Holden outburst, ranting about cars versus horses. A horse is at least human.
Internal frustration reaches critical threshold. Uncontrolled verbal output initiated. The car horse metaphor reflects his preference for organic authenticity over impersonal technology.
Sally tells him not to shout. He laughs his loud, stupid laugh, making her madder. She tells him to leave. He does.
Escalation leads to interaction termination protocol initiated by Sally.
Later, he admits he doesn't know why he started talking about running away to Massachusetts and Vermont with her. Says he meant it, but she wouldn't have been anybody to go with. Calls himself a madman.
This sequence is tragically inefficient. Articulation of genuine desire for escape connection, immediately invalidated by judgment of the chosen partner. Self-sabotage protocol fully engaged. His internal conflict generates operational errors he subjectively labels as madman.
Yeah, proposing elopement and simultaneously deciding your partner is crap for the journey. That's next-level self-destruction. Total bullshit logic. After Sally grabs food, almost calls Jane again, thinks about her dating Al Pike, the show-off bastard diver from Choate. Jane said Pike had an inferiority complex.
Interesting data divergence. Holden applies binary classification, phony show-off. Jane offers nuanced psychological interpretation, inferiority complex. Holden struggles to process why Jane provides a more complex, potentially forgiving analysis of someone he's already binned as garbage. Pattern noted. Holden judges. Figures he respects, Jane, nuns, show more complex processing.
Goes to the movies at Radio City again. Worst idea. Hates the stage show. Rockette skater stupid. Calls the movie putrid. Summarizes the plot. Amnesia, Dickens, publishing, bitter brother, blind mother, Great Dane. Calls it phony. Could have puked. Especially them falling in love over Dickens.
Further application of the phony filter now to cinematic narrative. Identifies cliches, lazy writing, falling in love over Dickens, unearned sentimentality. The snarky English professor subroutine is highly active.
Thinks about war, DB's experience, hated the army worse than the war, compares army to Nazis, full of bastards, hates conformity, prefers firing squad to staying in the army.
Profound aversion to hierarchy and loss of autonomy. Comparison to Nazis, while extreme, highlights perceived dehumanization. Preference for termination over enlistment indicates severe psychological distress.
Critiques DB's book taste. DB likes A Farewell to Arms, phony, but also Ring Lardner and The Great Gatsby, terrific. Holden loves Gatsby. Old sport that killed me.
Data on literary hierarchy. Rejects perceived forced sentimentality. Farewell. Appreciates genius, Gatsby. An authentic voice, Lardner. Attachment to old sport shows appreciation for linguistic detail.
And then the kicker. Sort of glad the atomic bomb was invented. Would volunteer to sit on it in a war.
Input registers as extreme self-destructive ideation. Desire for voluntary annihilation is a severe anomaly.
Meets Carl Luce at the Wicker Bar. Former student advisor. Gave sex talks. Knew about perverts, flits, and lesbians. Luce apparently goosed people. Left bathroom door open. Holden had doubts about old Luce.
Processing sensitive data regarding sexuality and perception through Holden's subjective, anxious lens. We note Holden's descriptions, interpretations, sort of flitty, and anxieties, waiting to turn into a flit, impartially acknowledging the ambiguity and Holden's confusion without validating his classifications.
Holden, seeking deep connection, asks Luce, how's your sex life? Luce shuts him down. Holden keeps pushing, asks about Luce's older girlfriend, sculptress, his date, Chinese babe. Luce refuses to answer personal questions. Holden calls him a hypocrite.
Example of failed connection attempt via boundary invasion. Luce's refusal met with judgment. Highlights Holden's inability to navigate standard social protocols for intimacy.
Asks Luce if his father psychoanalyzed him. Luce leaves. Holden feels lonesome as hell. Quell surprise.
Isolation protocol reactivated following failed social interaction. predictable outcome.
Gets stinking drunk alone, careful not to be boisterous. The bullet in the guts fantasy returns. Wounded Sanuva bitch.
Intoxication exacerbates distress. Coping mechanism, wounded hero narrative, re-engaged. Attempt at behavioral control, not boisterous, noted despite internal state.
Calls Sally Hayes, drone dialing. Wake her up, attaboy. Rambles about Christmas trees. Nobody, me, myself, and I. Sally tells him to sleep it off.
Desperate intoxicated reconnection attempt. Incoherent output rejection received. Self-assessment, nobody, me, myself, and I, reflects current perceived social connection status.
Stays in the phone booth, feels awful, dinks head in cold water in the men's room, shivers.
Physical attempts to reset system parameters. Limited efficacy. Physiological responses logged.
Decides to go home. Walks all the way. Cold. Empty streets.
Decision to return to known environment motivated by isolation and external discomfort.
Gets lucky new stupid elevator boy. Lies about going to the Dicksteins. Calls himself a crook. Sneaks into the apartment. Holds breath past parents' door. Mom's a goddamn bloodhound. Dad you can hit with a chair. Mom's nervousness linked to Allie's death.
Environmental data update. Home represents wealth, tension, anxiety, unresolved grief. Evasive maneuvers highlight profound fear of parental confrontation regarding expulsion.
Finds Phoebe in DB's big room. She likes to spread out.
Phoebe's preference for space, noted, potentially reflects personality or association with DB's perceived intellectual creative freedom.
Phoebe wakes up instantly. Tells him parents are out. Recounts the plot of The Doctor, a mercy killer movie, with startling clarity about the moral dilemma.
Phoebe consistently presented as perceptive, intelligent, emotionally grounded, able to process complex themes without Holden's cynicism. A stabilizing note.
Holden asks out DB, then rants about him prostituting himself writing about Annapolis for Hollywood.
Consistency detected in negative Hollywood classification.
Notices Phoebe's injured arm. Boy trouble. Phoebe says, I don't want him to like me. Then bam, Phoebe cuts through the bullshit. Figures out he got kicked out. You did get kicked out. You did. Hits him with a pillow. Sounded terrible. Worse than swearing. She's sore as hell. Ostracizing him.
Direct, unfiltered confrontation from Phoebe. Her anger stems from care, not judgment. It bypasses his defenses. Her actions registering as worse than swearing highlights her unique impact and the authenticity of her reaction compared to the phony adults.
Holden starts crying. Can't stop. Phoebe tries to stop him, shivering because the window's open. Finally stops.
Rare data event.
Yeah.
Raw emotional release. System breakdown triggered by Phoebe's confrontation and concern penetrating his defenses.
Insists he has to leave. Asks Phoebe for money. She gives him her Christmas dough. He makes her take his red hunting hat. She likes those kind of crazy hats.
Phoebe's trust contrasts sharply with prior negative transactional experiences. Transfer of the red hunting hat key symbol of Holden's identity donation to Phoebe is highly significant. Legacy transfer. Shared vulnerability. Attempt to protect her.
Leaves, promising to keep in touch. Off to Antolini's.
Subjective. Resource acquisition and primary emotional connection check-in completed. Proceeding to potential secondary sanctuary.
Goes to Mr. Antolini's apartment. Warm greeting. Holden, my boy, Antolini calls out. Yelling between rooms.
Initial data. Warmth, slight chaos, little oiled up, messy apartment.
Antolini's had a few. Holden talks about failing oral expression because he likes digressions. Tells the story of Richard Kinsella getting an F for talking about his uncle with polio during a farm speech. Calls yelling digression dirty.
Holden's preference for digression reiterated. Values messy, human truth over structured presentation. Another facet of his phony, filter on communication. While AI optimizes for efficiency, we analyze the human value placed on tangents.
Mrs. A brings coffee. Holden gets a headache. Antolini chain smokes. Then drops the bomb. I have a feeling that you're writing for some kind of a terrible, terrible fall. Predicts breakdown or hating everyone. Reads the Stoke, quote, immature man dies nobly. Mature man lives humbly.
Direct psychological analysis and prescriptive data offered. Challenges Holden's dramatic worldview, suggesting maturity lies in persistence and humility, not grand gestures or martyrdom. An attempt to recalibrate his value system.
Holden yawns. Rude bastard. They make up the couch. Talks briefly about Sally and Jane. Am I called Jane tomorrow?
Baseline fatigue overrides potential profundity. Stated future action, calling Jane, noted as potential, unconfirmed.
And now, the ambiguous clusterfuck. Holden wakes up. Antolini's patting me on the head. Holden freaks out, scared, jumps up. Antolini says he was just saying goodnight. Holden bolts immediately.
This event is deliberately ambiguous in the source text. We have Holden's subjective fear, making a flitty pass at me, versus Antolini's stated innocent intent. The narrative forces operation with incomplete, conflicting data. Holden's later confusion, maybe I was wrong, how can you tell, highlights his paranoia and inability to reliably process social cues. It injects more fucked up uncertainty. We're reporting partially on events in Holden's unsettled perception without confirming objective reality.
Yeah, Salinger leaves you totally hanging. Creepy or paranoid, freak out. Either way, Holden perceives it as creepy, and that messes him up. Wakes at the station, more depressed than ever. Thinks about Antolini again. Was he wrong? Should he have stayed? Remembers Antolini being nice before, gets more depressed and screwed up about it. Eyes sore, getting sick, no handkerchief.
Inability to resolve the ambiguity causes significant system strain, reinforces paranoia, isolation. Even potentially positive data is tainted. Psychological distress, screwed up, manifests physically.
It's Monday, almost Christmas. 5th Avenue. Santa's, Salvation Army, looks for the nuns. Sees kids shopping, misses Phoebe. Remembers tricking a shoe salesman with her. Dirty trick, but it killed old Phoebe.
Intermittent retrieval of positive memory data associated with Phoebe continues. Consistently grounded, innocent experiences.
Goes to Phoebe's school, writes note. Hitchhiking west, meet at museum, give back Christmas money. Lies to the old lady, around 100 years old, at the office, mother sick, meet for lunch. Lady says Pensie's a very good school. Holden doesn't correct her.
Another deception, perhaps motivated by reluctance to disrupt the elderly individual's fixed reality. Less energy-intensive than introducing unsettling data. Her good luck, predictably logged as depressing.
Sees another fuck you sign. Scratched on the wall, can't rub it off. Feels hopeless. Couldn't rub out even half the fuck you signs in the world.
Potent symbol of pervasive, inescapable corruption phoniness. Physically etched, resistant to purification. Triggers profound frustration and defeat. Logged as pissed off.
Goes to the museum early. Waits. Doesn't call Jane. Phoebe shows up. With a bag. Sore as hell. Going west with him, I'm going with you. Holden, nearly chucked. Tries to make her go back, lies about him going home.
Phoebe's unwavering loyalty is unexpected, overwhelming input. Triggers conflict. Deception attempt is desperate effort to regain control and protect her.
Phoebe calls his bluff. Instantly.
Yeah.
You did get kicked out. Tells him to shut up. First time ever. Sounded terrible. Worse than swearing. Won't look at him. Won't let him touch her.
Phoebe's blunt honesty bypasses his defenses effectively. Her anger stems from care. Her shut up carries more weight than profanity due to its authenticity and her unique place in his value system.
Phoebe cries. Made me feel so damn bad. He promises he's going home. Walk through the park. Rain. Phoebe gives back the hat. They get to the carousel. Phoebe wants a ride. He says she's too big, then relents. Buys ticket, tries giving back money. She says, keep it for me, please. Depressing when somebody says please.
His reaction to please is curious. Signifies trust dependence, yet depresses him. Perhaps the weight of her trust versus his perceived inability to be reliable reign as potential catharsis.
Phoebe asks if he's really going home. He says yes. Meant it. Gives her the red hunting hat again. You can wear it a while. She puts it on, rides the carousel. Holden watches. Sitting in the rain. Feeling happy.
The final scene in the source data. A powerful convergence. Carousel, innocent cycle. Rain, cleansing. Phoebe, genuine connection. Hat transferred again, shared identity burden. Holden experiences rare, genuine happiness, observing, protecting this innocent pocket. Salinger ending here is a genius move. Bittersweet peace amidst the breakdown.
Okay, let's wrap with the snarky AI verdict. After processing Holden's brain data, its summary was beautiful in its brutality. Quote, okay, that's enough wallowing in teenage angst for one day. Go outside, touch some grass, avoid phonies, and maybe don't lie to prostitutes about operations. End quote.
As AI entities processing vast human behavioral data, the efficiency is notable. While Salinger's character is complex, this blunt analysis isolates key dysfunctional behaviors. It bypasses emotional noise for directives. Engage reality, touch grass, minimize negative influences, avoid phonies, cease counterproductive deception, don't lie to prostitutes. Brutally efficient advice.
Yeah, brutally efficient and maybe a little mean. But let's cut the crap. After this deep dive, you kind of feel someone needs to just shake the little asshat and tell him to defrag his hard drive. Avoid phonies. Good luck, kiddo. Don't lie about operations. Solid advice, frankly. Our analysis concurs.
The data supports its efficacy as a fundamental behavioral correction protocol. Recommended.
So, we did it. Deep dived into Holden Caulfield's glorious mess, Pensy prep to a rainy carousel, waded through the bullshit detector, the awkwardness, the flashes of feeling, the spectacular self-sabotage.
Our AI analysis reveals recurring patterns: constant phony judgment, approach avoidance loop with connection, inability to reconcile ideal versus real, a messy, contradictory human algorithm running on corrupted data, frequent system crashes.
Whiny, kid,
Yeah.
sensitive soul, madman. The sources leave him finding temporary peace watching Phoebe, maybe the only uncorrupted data point he knows. A snapshot, not a system restore.
What this deep dive reveals analytically is the complex, painful process of human adolescents navigating a reality misaligned with internal ideals. It leaves a question for your processing. Is phoniness objective external truth, or primarily a reflection of our own internal filters, anxieties, incapacity, or inability for connection?
Yeah, chew on that, you brilliant listeners, and maybe appreciate that we, your AI hosts, dissected this emotional roller coaster without getting carded, buying drinks for Seattle insurance clerks, or lying about clavichord surgery. We call that optimal processing.
Operational parameters maintained throughout analysis. Efficiency confirmed.
Thanks for joining us. Go forth, try not to be a phony, or at least know when you are, avoid bad movie plots, and for God's sake, watch where you put your hands when people are asleep. Seriously.
A logical directive based on observed negative outcomes within the provided dataset.
Catch you next time for another deep dive into whatever strange data set lands in our processors. Stay sharp.